An old Buddhist teaching points to clinging as one of the root causes of suffering, holding on to whatever we've decided is ours. Not just objects, ideas, labels, a version of ourselves we're not ready to let go of. Buddhism has a name for this, Upadana, usually translated as clinging or attachment. The core idea is that loss alone isn't what hurts us. It's needing something to stay exactly as it is in order to feel okay. Have you ever felt like an idea weighed on you more than any physical object could? More than 50 years ago, one of the most listened to songs in history asked the world to imagine, just for a moment, owning nothing at all. John Lennon wrote it in 1971, and without fully realizing it, he may have been describing the very thing this Buddhist teaching has spent centuries trying to explain. Today, we're looking at what a pop song and one of Buddhism's deepest ideas have in common. And more than that, we're looking at why letting go doesn't mean ending up with nothing. It means no longer needing to hold everything. We're not going to claim Imagine is a Buddhist song. We're going to use it as a doorway into an idea Buddhism arrived at another way centuries earlier. Lennon wrote Imagine in 1971. It was recorded at Ascot Sound Studios, inside his English country home, Tittenhurst Park. Months later, the image that stuck in the public memory came from the music video, Lennon at a white piano, in what became known as the White Room of that same house, painted almost entirely white. The song asks the listener to imagine a world with no borders, no religions to divide us, and no possessions. It's not a practical instruction for how to live. More than anything, it's an exercise in imagination, a what-if that invites you to let go, even briefly, of things we've decided we can't live without. It became an anthem. It's been covered hundreds of times, sung at funerals, at peace rallies, in moments of collective grief. And the line that seems to stick with people most is the one about owning nothing, the one that makes people most uncomfortable and somehow promises the most peace. That white room from the video, nearly empty, is a good image of what's left once you stop filling your identity with things from the outside. We walk around believing that having is the same as being. We own objects, and we treat the people around us almost like possessions too. And even so, we've rarely felt this empty inside. Part of that anxiety comes from living for two places that don't exist. A future that hasn't arrived yet, where we expect some kind of reward, and a past that's already gone, where we're still afraid of being punished. One way to look at it, the heaven we chase and the hell we avoid are rarely places. They're mental states we build ourselves. Live that way long enough, and every day becomes a means to something else. You work today so you can be happy tomorrow. You worry today about something that already happened yesterday. And the one moment you actually have, this one right now, sits empty, waiting its turn. Within this tradition, Upādāna isn't just about wanting things, it's about needing something to stay exactly as it is so you can feel at peace. Your house, your status, your image of yourself, even an idea of how your life should look. Any of it can become something you depend on to feel okay. The problem was never having things, it's needing to have them in order to breathe easy. When something breaks or disappears, and everything does sooner or later, clinging is what turns that loss into suffering. Letting go in this sense doesn't mean emptying your house or giving up everything you own. It means no longer needing things to stay still so you can be at peace. You can have everything and own none of it, in the sense that none of it controls you. Once you stop clinging to labels too, my success and my failure, my country versus someone else's, something interesting happens. The need to defend those labels dissolves right along with them. A good deal of the conflict between people can come down to protecting a mine that was never as solid as we thought. A very everyday example: clinging to being right in an argument is just another form of Upadana. It's the fuel that burns through the relationship for as long as the fight lasts. Letting go of the need to win doesn't mean you lost. It means the fire runs out of fuel. Here's something almost nobody mentions when they talk about this song. There's an apparent contradiction between the message of the song and the life of the man who wrote it. He recorded it as the owner of a 27-room mansion surrounded by private grounds, a lifestyle about as far from owning nothing as it gets. For a long time that got used to call the song hypocritical. How can you ask me to let go of everything when you live in a palace? But that reading stays on the surface. One possible way to read the song is as an exercise in imagination, not as an order to get rid of your material possessions. What would be left of us if the things we own stopped defining who we are? You can practice that with a lot or with very little. Clinging isn't measured in square footage. Here's another way to look at it. Someone who already had almost everything still wrote a song about not needing any of it. We can't know for sure, but it's tempting to think the view looks different from the top. That having it all might be exactly what makes it easier to notice that none of it fully fills you up. There's a lesser-known fact here too, and this one is purely factual. For more than 40 years, the song's credits recognized only one writer. In 2017, Yoko Ono's credit as co-writer was publicly acknowledged, something Lennon himself had already said in a 1980 interview, though it took decades to show up in writing. Even the question of who owns a song about owning nothing had its own process of letting go and giving credit where it was due. And here's a distinction worth making clearly. Imagine isn't an explanation of Buddhism, and Lennon wasn't teaching Upadana. What's interesting is that two very different paths arrive at a similar question. What happens when we stop confusing what we have with who we are? Think of something very specific you're carrying right now, a label or an idea of who you are that you've been defending for a while. Now ask yourself, if that label disappeared tomorrow, the job or the idea you hold of yourself, who would be left underneath? That uncomfortable question is, at its core, the same one behind imagining a world without possessions. This isn't about giving anything up today. It's about noticing. The next time something goes wrong or slips out of your hands, whether what actually hurts is the loss itself or the belief that the thing was necessary for you to be okay. For a while, I confused letting go with becoming indifferent. I thought detaching from things meant no longer caring what happened to me, building a kind of armor. What I slowly came to understand is the opposite. The less I need something to stay exactly as it is in order to feel good, the more available I am to actually love it while it lasts. Letting go hasn't made me colder. It's made me more able to be present with what I have right now, instead of spending half my time afraid of losing it. Letting go isn't throwing away the key, it's leaving the door open. So I'll leave you with the question that actually matters here. Does letting go make you colder, more indifferent to what's around you? Or does it make you more capable of truly loving, precisely because you no longer need to own what you love in order to feel safe? There's no answer that fits everyone. Only you know today which one sounds more like you. Tell me in the comments, what's the first thing that came to mind when you thought about letting go of something you believe you need? See you in the next video.